few times I woke up and I've been shaking so violently I've had to walk around for quite a bit to stay warm. Some people are really, really nice and really helpful. You can get the odd person going past and spitting on you or being really cruel.
Family breakups, job losses, depression, alcohol and drug addiction are just some of the reasons people find themselves sleeping rough. And once homeless, the future is shockingly bleak. New figures show homeless men are dying at an average age of 47 years old. For women, it's just 43, more than 30 years younger than the national average, and on a par with countries like Afghanistan and Somalia. They're also 9 times more likely to commit suicide.
How could you walk past a homeless man and laugh when you don't even know this man? This is Great Britain and there's people starving, probably no one there to even hold their hand. That's somebody's son or somebody's daughter. What'd you do if that was one of your siblings drunk out on some bullshit some prick just bought her? Would you walk past and ignore it? There's little boys and girls being raised in care, in and out of homes with no guardian there. Sometimes I wonder, do we even care? There's defenseless children being abused and killed. I wonder, is life even fair? I don't know if there's heaven or hell, but I do know it ain't easy here. Nobody alive should have to sleep in fear. I'm sure we see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. I'm sure we see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. Okay, walk past a human like the scum of society, all to keep facing, you're not right. You got a busy schedule, you got to keep up with your diary. Nobody can slow you down as you stroll through town. Another kid just starved, see how it goes around with the government's input. Another false flag, they're rather mow you down. Yeah, it's crazy how no one visits this old lady. Her own family won't visit her later. Becomes labelled a service user, another name, give her a system abuse. It's all mental slavery. Whereas living in a box, they can't cage me. This is the bullshit we live with daily. Mr. Politician, do you hear me? And if you do, listen up clearly. I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen.
Britain used to be great, but it isn't anymore. Politicians are corrupt, they turn out to be rapists that have been sniffing on the road. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor. The truth is they don't want to listen anymore. Seeing bailies kicking off doors, seeing homeless people living on the floor outside, got me questioning why that I would share mine but it wouldn't share yours. I mean, look at all the mess Blair cause. It's like they show no remorse for their actions. False flag to create a distraction from what's actually happening. And if we want to make Britain great again, we gotta wake up and start reacting.
I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen. I'm struggling to see the great in Britain, homeless people starving and so frostbitten, children paralysed by fear, with no one to tell because no one will listen.
One more quick question before we go. What's your opinion on like homeless people around Sheffield and how we could improve it and get more homeless into accommodated shelters or whatever?
A lot of it, I feel sure that some homeless people are being forced onto the streets because they'll go, for example, to the doctors with a sick note and they're genuinely sick, but the people are running universal credit. They're acting illegally, as they did in my case. They refused to take the sick note and said, "Oh well, we'll just monitor. We'll not go as hard on you. We'll not go as hard for these 35 hours for the first few weeks or whatever." But that's no guarantees, because if a doctor says you are sick, you're sick, and they're acting as doctors, jurors, as if they know everything, and they're overstepping the mark and adjudicating in areas where they're not qualified, and I'm sure if they can do that to me and other people, there's other areas where to get their figures right, they're just trampling on people. So, as for the sleeping arrangements, you see yourself when you walk around Sheffield, there are so many empty properties. But you have to wait 6 weeks for this universal credit. And there's a whole raft of other stuff, terms and conditions, which are designed to put people off. And so you end up in a situation where you to actually retain your freedom and dignity, you're better off sleeping in a bloody field. Because the cold weather situation the other night, it dropped below a certain temperature, so by law they were supposed to offer me a property. Well, I went to the Salvation Army. Half the residents were out of control, shouting and swearing, and although it's not in a heavily residential area, nevertheless there are people there that sleep and live there, and I'm sure it must be intimidating for them. Also the staff, they put me not in a bedroom but in a kitchen stroke lounge with a big glass panel on the door. Now some of the residents kept knocking on the door. You know, one particular one, I told him 3 times I were in bed, he kept coming and trying the door. I had to tell him to piss off. Not that I like being like that, but it's obvious if you're laid on the couch asleep in your sleeping bag. The staff kept peering through. They had keys. I had no privacy whatsoever, and they asked me a whole range of questions, 12 pages of questions about past criminal convictions and different things for a one-night sleepover with a bloody cold. The system is set up that if you have any dignity, it's designed to strip you of any last vestige of it. It's a bleak future until they treat people like people. Yes, some people on the streets are scoundrels, but if you went on that basis, nobody would ever go to the doctor, because you've read the reports where people have molested patients under the gas. So presumably, we must assume every dentist, every doctor acts in such a fashion we'd never go again. And so we treat the homeless people the same. Because somebody might have conned somebody out of a fiver, everybody's bent and everybody's on the streets because they're criminals. Oh, that's how it works. Until there's a merit-based system looking at people's problems on a one-to-one basis, which, whether it's Labour, Tories, it never happens because it's an Hegelian dialectic with the same people carrying the same policies that the bankers have told them to do. They're just not bothered about the lives of me and you, I don't see it improving until we have a fair system. Universal credit is either scrapped or amended, and that we have something that looks at people's problems on a meritorious basis.